Someone tried you. They laughed at you in front of others. They questioned your value. They spoke to you as if you were small. And for a split second, your body reacted before your mind did. Heat in your chest, jaw tight, pulse rising. You wanted to snap. But here is the truth most people never learn. The moment of disrespect is not about them. It is about you. It is the instant that exposes whether you are ruled by emotion or whether you rule yourself. Over 500 years ago, Niccolò Machiavelli studied rulers who survived betrayal, humiliation, and public attack. In his book, The Prince, he did not teach men how to feel better. He taught them how to remain powerful in a world that does not care about feelings. What you are about to read is not about revenge. It is about control. Disrespect is a test, not a personal attack. Before you learn how to handle disrespect, you must understand what it really is. Most people think disrespect is an attack on their value. They feel insulted, wounded, reduced. But in reality, disrespect is rarely about your worth. It is about position. Every social space, office, gym, classroom, family gathering is filled with invisible hierarchies. People are constantly measuring confidence, stability, competence, and influence. They do not announce it. They simply observe. When someone challenges you, mocks you, or speaks over you, they are not always trying to destroy you. They are testing your frame. A test asks one silent question: can you be moved? If your emotions immediately shift anger, defensiveness, panic, the answer becomes clear. You can be moved. You can be shaken. You can be controlled. And control is the real currency in human interaction. Over 500 years ago, Niccolò Machiavelli studied rulers who survived in brutal political environments. In The Prince, he observed something critical. Leaders who reacted emotionally lost authority. Leaders who maintained composure gained it. Composure signals stability, and stability signals power. When someone disrespects you, pause and look deeper. What is actually happening? Are they insecure? Are they seeking attention? Are they trying to impress others? Are they probing to see if you will collapse? Most disrespect comes from uncertainty or envy. Secure individuals do not need to provoke others to feel important. Those who constantly diminish others often do so because they feel diminished inside. But here is the trap. The moment you take it personally, you lose perspective. You shrink the situation down to ego versus ego. You stop seeing strategy and start feeling insult. Disrespect is information. It tells you who lacks discipline. It tells you who feels threatened. It tells you who is emotionally reactive. And most importantly, it tells you who is watching to see how you respond. If you explode, observers learn that you are unstable under pressure. If you crumble, they learn you are easy to dominate. If you remain calm, they learn something else entirely. They learn that you cannot be easily moved. That is the beginning of authority. Disrespect is not the enemy, it is an opportunity, a moment where your reaction either lowers your status or silently elevates it. The test is never about the words spoken. The test is about your control, and control is always visible. Reaction is the language of the undisciplined. The average person believes anger equals strength. They think raising their voice proves dominance. They think fast retaliation shows courage. They think emotional intensity commands respect. It does not. It exposes instability. When you react immediately, you surrender control of the situation. The other person pressed a button, and you responded exactly as expected. In that moment, they dictated your behavior. That is not power. That is programming. Emotional reactions feel powerful because they release pressure. Your ego feels defended. Your pride feels protected. But look deeper. What actually happened? Your mood shifted. Your breathing changed. Your focus broke. Your body entered stress mode, all because someone spoke a few words. If words can control your state, then you are not in control of yourself. Over centuries ago, Niccolò Machiavelli observed that leaders who acted from passion made poor decisions. In The Prince, he explained that rulers must avoid impulsive action. Passion narrows vision. It forces quick moves without calculation, and quick emotional moves are easy to predict. Predictability is weakness. When someone disrespects you and you instantly fire back, you reveal your pattern. Now they know how to manipulate you. Now they know what triggers you. Now they know how to pull you off your center whenever they want. The undisciplined person cannot tolerate the discomfort of restraint. Silence feels like losing. Pausing feels like surrender. Waiting feels weak. But restraint is not weakness, it is delayed power. When you pause before responding, you interrupt the emotional chain reaction. You give your mind space to assess. What is the goal here? Is this worth energy? Who is watching? What outcome do I want? Most people never ask these questions, they simply react, and reaction creates regret. Think about past conflicts in your life, the harsh words you wish you could take back, the messages sent in anger, the argument that escalated because neither side paused. All of that began with uncontrolled reaction. Discipline means you feel the emotion, but you do not obey it. You notice the anger rise, you acknowledge it, but you do not let it drive. That gap between feeling and action is where maturity lives, and maturity under pressure is rare. When others expect heat and you offer calm, the dynamic shifts. They realize you are not easily steered. They realize you think before you move. That realization changes how they approach you next time. Reaction is instinct, response is strategy, and strategy always outlives emotion. Silence is a form of authority. There is a response so powerful that most people are too insecure to use it. Silence, not awkward silence. Not passive-aggressive silence, but controlled, intentional silence. When someone disrespects you, they expect friction, they expect pushback. They are prepared for noise, argument, defense, retaliation. When you give them nothing, the structure collapses. Silence creates psychological tension. The person who initiated the attack suddenly has no feedback, no resistance, no validation. The energy they tried to throw at you falls flat. And now the attention shifts to them. People in the room begin to observe. Who looks unstable? Who looks composed? Who seems emotional? Who seems in control? When you refuse to react, you separate yourself from chaos. Over time, leaders have understood this principle. Niccolò Machiavelli emphasized that power is not always about visible force. In The Prince, he made it clear that perception often determines authority more than aggression does. Silence controls perception. When you argue loudly, you look entangled. When you stay calm, you look elevated. Silence does something else that most people miss. It creates uncertainty. Uncertainty makes people cautious. If someone insults you and you immediately retaliate, they understand your limits. They see your emotional threshold. But if you simply look at them, steady and unreadable, they begin to question themselves. Did I miscalculate? Is he planning something? Did that not affect him? Uncertainty weakens the aggressor. Humans are uncomfortable when they cannot predict outcomes. If your behavior is unpredictable because it is controlled, you gain psychological leverage. This does not mean you avoid confrontation forever. Silence is not permanent avoidance. It is the first filter. You ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? Is this person important to my long-term direction? Will speaking improve or worsen the outcome? If the answer is no, silence becomes your shield. Silence also protects your reputation. When others see that you do not engage in petty exchanges, they begin to associate you with composure, and composure attracts respect more reliably than aggression ever will. Most people speak to fill discomfort, they argue to defend ego, they retaliate to feel strong. But true strength is being able to sit in tension without flinching. Silence communicates one clear message: I am not moved. And when people realize they cannot move you easily, they begin to move differently around you. Authority is not always loud. Sometimes it is simply the absence of noise, and the man who can remain silent under pressure is already ahead of most. Strategic response, not emotional revenge. Silence is powerful. But silence is not surrender. There will be moments when a response is necessary, when boundaries must be enforced, when allowing disrespect to pass would invite more of it. The difference between the average man and the disciplined man is not whether they respond, it is how and when they do. The emotional person reacts instantly. His response is loud, messy, fueled by ego. He wants immediate satisfaction. He wants to win the moment. But short-term victory often creates long-term weakness. The strategic man thinks differently. He asks, what outcome do I want? Who is watching this? What message needs to be sent? Over 5 centuries ago, Niccolò Machiavelli understood that timing determines power. In The Prince, he warned rulers never to act from anger. Anger rushes decisions, and rushed decisions expose flaws. A strategic response is calm, precise, and proportional, not explosive, not dramatic, not emotional. If someone crosses a clear boundary, the response should be direct and controlled. That won't happen again. Speak to me respectfully. Let's keep this professional, delivered slowly, steady eye contact, no raised voice. When words are calm, they carry more weight. Sometimes the most powerful response is not verbal at all. It is behavioral. You reduce access. You withdraw cooperation. You stop investing attention. No announcement, no threats, just consequences. Consistency is what builds authority. If people see that crossing you leads to measured consequences, every time they adjust, not because you frightened them, but because you established a pattern. And patterns shape behavior. Half measures are dangerous. If you sometimes tolerate disrespect and sometimes explode, people become confused. Inconsistency invites testing. But if you are always composed and always firm when required, your boundaries become predictable. And predictability in discipline builds respect. The goal is not revenge. Revenge is emotional. Strategy is intentional. You are not trying to hurt someone. You are teaching them how to interact with you. When your responses are calm and controlled, observers notice. They see someone who does not lose balance, someone who does not need noise to establish presence. Strategic response communicates maturity. It says, I choose when and how I act. And that choice, that delay between emotion and action, is where real strength lives. Control first. Respond second. Never the other way around. Indifference, the level few ever reach. There is something stronger than silence, stronger than retaliation, stronger than dominance. Indifference, not fake indifference. Not pretending you do not care while anger burns underneath. Real indifference. The kind that comes from clarity. Most disrespect only hurts because ego is involved. You feel your image threatened. You feel misunderstood. You feel the urge to correct the narrative. But ask yourself something simple. Will this matter in a year? In 5 years? Even in 5 weeks? Most conflicts dissolve with time. Most insults fade into irrelevance. Most people who provoke you will not even exist in your long-term story. When you understand that, something shifts inside you. You stop fighting every small battle. Over 500 years ago, Niccolò Machiavelli understood that attention is power. In The Prince, he emphasized perception and strategic focus. Whatever a leader chooses to engage with becomes elevated. The same principle applies to you. When you argue with someone beneath your standards, you lift them up to your level. When you defend yourself against every criticism, you legitimize every critic. But when you ignore what is insignificant, it withers. Indifference is devastating because it communicates one thing clearly. You are not important enough to disturb my direction. That message unsettles people more than anger ever could. Many individuals provoke others because they crave significance. Even negative attention feels powerful. When you deny them reaction, you deny them relevance, and relevance is what they wanted. True indifference also protects your energy. Your focus is limited. Your emotional capacity is limited. If you allow every comment, every slight, every whisper to enter your system, you become exhausted. Exhausted people make poor decisions. Focused people build momentum. Indifference is not weakness. It is prioritization. You are choosing your goals over your ego. You are choosing progress over pride. This does not mean you tolerate serious disrespect. It means you distinguish between what matters and what is noise. Most of life is noise. The disciplined person filters it. When you genuinely do not care about small attacks, something powerful happens. Your body stays calm, your voice stays steady, your mind stays clear. People notice that stability, and stability under pressure is rare. The highest level of power is not domination, it is being unmoved. When you reach that level, disrespect loses its fuel, because without your reaction, it cannot survive. Build a reputation that shields you. The strongest defense is the one you rarely have to use. That defense is reputation. If you constantly find yourself fighting disrespect, it may not be about aggression, it may be about perception. People treat you based on what they believe you represent. Over 5 centuries ago, Niccolò Machiavelli wrote in The Prince that perception often matters more than reality. A ruler's image shaped how others behaved toward him. If he appeared weak, he invited challenge. If he appeared disciplined and decisive, people hesitated. The same law applies today. Your reputation enters the room before you speak. If you are known as reactive, people will test you. If you are known as calm, people approach carefully. If you are known as consistent, people respect boundaries without reminders. Reputation is built quietly. First, through competence. When you are excellent at what you do, whether business, fitness, leadership, or communication, people think twice before dismissing you. Skill commands respect without arguments. You do not need to demand authority when your results speak. Second, through emotional consistency. People observe how you behave under stress. Do you panic? Do you overreact? Or do you remain steady? Each moment of pressure is recorded in memory. Over time, patterns become identity. If you stay composed again and again, your composure becomes expected. Third, through boundaries. Reputation collapses if it is not defended. When someone crosses a clear line, your response must be firm and calm, not dramatic, not explosive, just unmistakable. Consistency in enforcing boundaries creates predictability, and predictability in discipline builds security. People respect what they understand. Fourth, through restraint. You do not reveal everything. You do not explain every move. You do not overshare your plans. Mystery creates caution. When people cannot fully measure you, they tread carefully. Oversharing invites familiarity. Familiarity invites disrespect. Finally, through alignment. Surround yourself with individuals who reflect strength, not chaos. Association shapes perception. If you tolerate low standards in your circle, others assume you operate at that level. Reputation compounds slowly, like interest. Each calm response, each disciplined choice, each measured boundary adds another layer. Eventually, something changes. People begin to think before they speak around you. They choose their words more carefully. They hesitate before testing you, not because you threatened them, but because you trained them. An untouchable reputation is not built in one moment of dominance. It is built in 1,000 moments of self-control. And once it is established, disrespect becomes rare because most people challenge only what looks unstable. Become stable and watch how the world adjusts. See human nature clearly, but stay in control. If you want to move through the world without being blindsided, you must understand something uncomfortable. People are driven by self-interest. This is not bitterness, it is realism. Many will support you as long as it benefits them. Many will smile while comparing themselves to you. Some will congratulate you while quietly hoping you slow down. This is human nature. Over 500 years ago, Niccolò Machiavelli observed this pattern clearly. In The Prince, he wrote that loyalty often shifts when circumstances change. Affection can fade when convenience disappears. Understanding this does not mean becoming paranoid. It means becoming aware. When you rise, envy rises with you. Success reminds others of what they have not achieved. Discipline exposes others' excuses. Confidence threatens insecurity. And insecurity sometimes expresses itself as disrespect. That comment meant to joke at your expense. That subtle attempt to undermine you in public. That backhanded compliment. These are signals. The mature response is observation. Watch how people behave when you succeed. Watch how they act when you struggle. Watch how they treat you when they believe you need them. Behavior under perceived power reveals character. But here is the crucial point. Do not let awareness turn into bitterness. You are not studying human nature to manipulate. You are studying it to avoid being manipulated. There is a difference. When you recognize that people act from interest, you stop being shocked by it. You stop taking everything personally. You begin to see patterns instead of insults. And patterns are easier to manage than emotions. One more truth. Fear of consequences regulates behavior more reliably than affection alone. This does not mean intimidation. It means clarity. If people know that crossing you leads to calm, firm consequences, they adjust themselves. You do not need to shout. You simply need to be consistent. Respect is not built through popularity. It is built through predictability in strength. When others know you are fair but firm, calm but decisive, patient but not passive, they calculate before acting against you. And that calculation is what protects you. Seeing human nature clearly gives you advantage, but self-control keeps that advantage clean. You are not here to dominate everyone. You are here to remain steady while others fluctuate. Once you master that, disrespect stops being a threat. It becomes a signal, and signals are useful to those who know how to read them. Everything you have read means nothing without practice. The next time someone disrespects you, pause, breathe, observe, then choose. Do not give away control for temporary satisfaction. Do not trade long-term power for short-term emotion. Your real opponent is not the person who mocked you. It is the version of you that reacts without thinking. Kill that version with discipline. Replace it with awareness. Replace it with obeisance. Replace it with strategic calm. From today forward, you do not react. You respond, and over time, something changes. People begin to notice your composure. They test you less. They speak more carefully, not because you demanded respect, but because you became the kind of person who naturally commands it. Power is not loud. Control is not emotional. Strength is not reactive. Master yourself, and disrespect loses its weapon. Now the question remains, when the next test comes, will you react or will you respond?